I think generally speaking, people are good. My goal was really just for people to see the problem. It doesn't change how I approach life. Anyone listening to this, if you have minority friends, go talk to them. I don't know if we've paid too much attention to gender in the stuff we put them in. We just got the girls in wrestling, which has been fun to see them pick up. They're big into gymnastics. They both race motocross. That's a big part of our life.
Is that a decision you and your wife made together? Like, hey, part of the way we're going to raise our kids is they're going to do these things. Or is it like, I like doing this, so let's see if they like it.
It's more of, yeah, this is what we're doing. I think motocross, they just picked up because that's what I'm doing. We take them on walks around the neighborhood, walk our dog every night. Yeah. They ride their Strider bikes, and then they got bigger. We put them on the Stasic bikes, and yeah, the motocross stuff,
you got to be pumped about that though, that they like.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It's so fun to watch them race.
I see your posts on Instagram. The thing I love about motocross, and I don't know if the general population realizes this, it's a family sport.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
Tight-knit community, but also the families within the sport, they're very close.
Yeah, because you're racing. Yeah, you drive down Thursday, you're practice on Friday, racing Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, you're camped out at the track. You get to know the other families really well. Yeah, that is one of the best parts about it, because they have old man classes. That's what I'm racing in now. I was so pumped when I got into the 30 and over class. Things settle down a little bit. It's not so intense. But yeah, watching the kids, that's one of my favorite sports for them, because it's so individual. There's no excuses. It's just 100% you. There's no one to blame. It's fun to watch the kids because they get confidence, and they start getting confident, and they crash, and you watch them move back a couple steps and take it easy, because they figure out the ground hurts really, really fast. That's probably the best part. Iva's first race, she was 3 years old. She just learned how to ride her PW50, and we went and watched a race series up in Salt Lake just to see if we could do it. And I signed her up for, it was the powder puff class, which I thought was on the mini track. Turns out it was on the big track. And so we get to the first race, and we go over it. No, she's on her PW50.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. At 3?
Yes. She's on her PW50 at 3. And she was going to race Stasic too. So on the mini track, they do Stasic. On the big track, they do PW50s. They still do a modified version of the course in the PW class. But I had signed her up for the powder puff class, which races with the girls. So it was, what it really was is all girls up to like 12 years old, which there's not a whole lot of them. And so we went over, and I was like, hey, we're not racing. She's like, no, Dad, I want to race. And I was like, I don't know. 'Cause as a parent, you've got to keep them safe, but she's ridden tracks. She's ridden big tracks. So I was like, she could do the track, but for her first race, it's a little much. And she was so excited. So we, like, all right, we'll try one moto and see how it goes. So we're over at the starting gate, and I'm explaining, hey, the jumps on this track are a lot bigger. So when you go up them, make sure you give it plenty of speed, because if not, you're going to roll back down. The gate drops. I have a video that's pretty funny of her looking to the side. She's watching everyone go, and then you just see her kind of putt around, and she comes up to the first big jump, and I'm pumped filming, because it's she's 3, it's her first race, she goes up the face of the jump. She listened. She's always, my oldest listens really well. She gave it plenty of gas and jumped off the face of this triple, which the PWs can only go so fast, but she went flying. She hit the ground, smashed her face on the front fender, goes flying off the side of the jump. I jump over, run over to her, and the flaggers are over there and everything. And she's in tears. Her goggles had come off, and I picked her up. I'm like, hey, we're going back. And she's like, put me on my bike. And so I put her on thinking we're going to ride back. And uh, I just remember she's wiping the tears off with her gloves, and there's dirt all over. And she's like, I can finish the race. And I'm like, no, we're done. Cause I'm feeling like a bad parent. Like I just sent my kid out on full size motocross track with, I mean, other little kids, but all the kids are bigger. And
were
so
they on bigger bikes too? I'm assuming.
Yeah, they were up to like 65s,
Jeez.
which some of the 65 kids
rip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen videos.
Yeah. So she gets on, goes back out at this time. It's only, I think, a 5-lap race. And so by the time all this happens, I mean, the other kids are already 2.5 laps in, because it took her forever to get over in the first place. So she gets back on, she makes it down that lane, and the race is over at that point. And so the whole track's just watching this one little tiny kid do she's got another 4 or 5 minutes to get around the rest of the track. But as she'd come over every jump, the flaggers were cheering her on, and she made it back, finished. And that's the piece of motocross that's cool. Like it's you see him gain so much confidence that, I mean, she was afraid to even, like 6 months before that, she was afraid to even get on the bike. And then she can do a whole entire race. Was pretty cool to see.
How does your wife feel about it? Because it's a dangerous sport.
She doesn't like me doing it. I've been hurt a few too many times. During COVID, it was social distancing. So like the first week of COVID, when everything was shut down. And so in my mind, social distancing, a motocross track is perfect. So I went out to a private track with my friend, and I got knocked out. Still, no one knows really what happened. I was about 30 feet from my bike. So I was just laying on the ground, knocked out. He came over, got me. I was normal, but my shoulder was dislocated, pretty banged up. So he's like, let's go to the hospital. And we had just met at the track, so we didn't know each other too well. He put me in the truck, and something started to change in my brain, and things started to go downhill. So I didn't know where I was. Started to forget everything.
Didn't know who he was.
No, I don't remember this. This is just from him, but I guess my phone password is 22222, however, something easy. And he was like, "Hey, what's your phone password? I've got to get a hold of your wife." And I was like, 2. He's like, "Okay, well, what's next?" 2. Okay. And I'm like, 2. And, anyways, somehow he got a hold of my wife, because they took me to the ICU, and the whole time I kept telling the nurses that, I don't remember any of this, but I was telling the nurses apparently, like, please don't tell Bailey, she'll kill me. And they're like, who's Bailey? And Bailey's sitting there. She's like, I'm Bailey. So I've had too many concussions, too many injuries. But then I was out of it for a day, and this was first part of COVID. So no one could go in the hospital with you. They let Bailey into the emergency room, but after I got...
What hospital were you
at? The one in Payson.
Okay.
And so I started to come to, like, the next day. I couldn't walk, couldn't get out of bed. Like, just, there's really not much going on. And I still remember coming to, it was dark, and it was like a horror movie, because I'm looking around, and people were on ventilators, and there's nobody in there, nobody you know.
So you're in like an open room with...
It was the ICU, but it was like if my curtain was open, and so I could see around the room, and you could see some people. And I just remember coming to seeing that, and I was like, I don't know where I am, and went back out. And then the nurses would come ask me, this is when I started to remember, they'd say, hey, where, like, you know who you are? Where are you? And I just remember looking at my my wristband, and I would read it every time, and they were like, that's cheating. You can't read your wristband. And then I think that the nurses thought that I was still totally out of it, but I remember a nurse came in and saw my toes. My toes were out of the sheet, whatever, and they were painted because my girls the night before had painted my toenails. And so I remember waking up to him. He was like laughing. He went and got another nurse and came in. He's like, hey, look at this dude. He's got his toenails painted, and they were making fun of it. And they went and got another nurse, and they came back. And then that nurse, apparently I had told her that my daughters had painted them because she was like, you guys are jerks, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Then I started to come back from that, but that's, yeah, I think if Bailey had it her way, I probably wouldn't ride, which is just because it's so dangerous. But for me, it's kind of therapy.
It's your outlet.
Yeah, there's so much going on all the time in my mind that it's easy to get into like a meditative state because you're going fast. There's jumps, there's people around, the track's changing every lap. So it requires your full focus.
Yep. And
if you lose focus even for half a second, you're going to wind up seriously injured. And so to me, it's just it's when I'm really stressed or when, life sucks, that's it's the way that I clear my head. It's like a reset button.
Yeah.
My mind is just totally free for, those 20-minute moto. And, Bailey sees that. We have a rule, about being at 100%. So I show up at 100% and she shows up at 100%. We're both better together. We're there for the kids, that kind of stuff. And so that's one of the things that for me, I need to be at 100%. So I'm trying to find safer hobbies, but
yeah,
there's nothing quite like it. Nothing compares.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never rode track, but I got into dirt biking 3 years ago. Started trail riding single track and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the main things I immediately noticed is like, I literally cannot worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Nothing else can occupy my mind when I'm in the mountain because I'm so focused on the task at hand, and I think there's a few activities that are like that. Like I felt like that at very intense, when I went skydiving.
Okay.
Like
I hated that.
You're going to be stressing about work while you're free falling, But yeah, I love just being able to have an outlet, and I think all men should, and I think there's a lot of men that don't.
Yeah.
So like you said, operating at 100%, like I love that concept, but you have to be able to pull back and have just me time, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a strong believer in taking care of myself so that when I have to take care of others, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been a theme on the podcast. Like I do feel like our generation is so caught up in the being successful and, your self-image and your business and all this stuff that it's like, take a step back and remember what's really important in life.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been able to do that? I mean, you're a business owner, you're a father, you're a husband, you got a lot on your plate.
Yeah. I think at the times that it's hard to find a balance for sure between all that, but I think I've gotten better at it to where I think if you ask me as of today, it's balanced pretty well. 5 years ago, not at all. It was way too work heavy.
But maybe that's what it took to get to where you are today, right?
Yeah, I felt I worked so much that I felt like I missed the first 2 years of Iva, my oldest, like I missed the first 2 years of her life. And when we were pregnant with Mesa is when I decided to start my business. And that was my goal was if I have to miss any of that time, I get to make it up down the road. And thankfully that went pretty quick, but it's a hard balance to find. It's time you don't get back. That's probably the scariest part is you blink and your kids 2, 3, 4, now they're 6 and 7, which they think is hilarious.
I'm sure they ride that wave.
Yeah, when they realized it was a disaster.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know if you and your wife have discussed this or if you just have a mindset around it, but how do you decide how hard to push your kids? Because your girls are very well rounded. From an outside perspective, just kind of observing you on social media and stuff, your girls they're smart, athletic, well rounded young kids. Like, how did you guys find that balance and how much to push them?
And we for sure take the approach that every kid's different. And so we focus quite a bit on what each kid needs and what they like, what they don't like. We don't push them too hard. Our goal when they were really young was just to get them to try things to see what they're kind of interested in. I couldn't believe how fast babies develop their own personalities. And so seeing them from the time they're 2 years old, you could see what things they like and don't like. And so we just tried to kind of guide them towards things we thought they would like. I thought my oldest would love horse riding. I love horses, has no interest in it. We kept her in horse lessons. We just let it go. Both my girls are big into gymnastics. That's kind of their most serious thing. And that was just an accident. We took them to the rec classes just to try things, and both of them did well. And now my oldest does she's in the competitive program. She does 3 days a week. She does half day of gym and half day of school. And she works hard, which is fun to see, but we just kind of let them find their space and run with it. We've tried team sports, don't seem to work for our family. We tried soccer. It's never seemed to work out. I'm hoping down the road they pick up those, but we just let them try things. And then we do try to balance motivating them. So they have they have a goal chart. We're not super, let's see. So they have a goal chart where we set goals in each area of what they're doing. So it's usually like school, gym, motocross, whatever they are. But one of the ones at the bottom that's most important is trying new things or hard things, and they earn rewards based on if they achieve their goals throughout the week. And they're small. They're $5 to $10 things, and they don't get them all most weeks. We let them kind of push for it. But the trying something new thing is the one that has kind of stuck with them the most. And so anytime there's something new or hard, they know they'll get a reward. And it takes a lot of patience, I think, to kind of not push them too hard, but let them do the new thing. That's how we've gotten them into things. And then we just, whatever they gravitate towards or they like, we just go all in. I can't go, I have to be 100% committed or not at all. And so with the girls, whatever the sport is, we want to find the best coach, the best trainer, and put in the time to do it. And we don't force them to stick with anything, but anything they do start, they have to do through the season.
Yeah.
And then they could quit. So they're in wrestling. The first practice, they hated it. And then
Really?
the second practice, Uh, Actually, it was just Mesa. She was doing the match nights,
Yeah.
and she loved it so much.
I saw her over there giggling.
Yeah. she I realized that she'd never even seen a wrestling match before, and she's out there trying to wrestle kids. But yeah, she loved that. If they stick with it, great, but we just make sure that they're always in something, and if they do give something up, we find something new to replace it, and just let them have. We try to make things as fun as they can. And the motivation piece, the little rewards, that's probably been the biggest thing that's been helpful. It's sometimes it almost feels like bribing them, and we try to rein back if it gets to that point. But a lot of times it's they know that it's just for doing newer hard things, so they're open to them all the time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with your approach. I believe that kids need structure, but I believe that parents burn athletes out more often than not.
Yeah,
they're living through their kid, and that's the reason they want their kid to win. You know,
yeah.
they want them to be the best because of that reason. So your approach, I love it. And just to add to that, the whole thing I'm trying to do with Lincoln is when he gets older, I just want him to think that's the norm. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like everyone sets goals and works hard, and that's just how everyone lives.
Yeah, I don't care what they're doing as long as it's 100%. Whatever we're trying to do, we're going to be the very best at it.
Yeah. Like my dad, he didn't let us quit. He had the same concept.
Yeah.
I didn't know kids quit sports until like junior high.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then kids started
halfway through
off.
the season or something. Yeah.
Started falling off the wrestling team. I'm like, you guys can quit? I remember my sophomore year, like 3 practices into the high school practice, you know, they're having you sprint your guts out.
Yeah.
And I remember going to my dad and being like, screw this, I'm done. And I had wrestled since I was like 6, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so done with this sport. And he's like, I don't care. You're doing it, you know. And it took me a few weeks to get the excitement back up and love being on the team again. But like the fact that he just didn't give in and let me quit means a lot to me.
Yeah. I think I try to make sure our kids know that if I don't want them forced to do anything because I want them to do it, but I want them to do something. And so they know that anything at a high level gets hard. And so making sure that they can stick with those things, and when it does get hard, keep going. And so even if they want to quit this, we're just going to move to something else that takes just as much time or just as much effort. And that seemed to help. We'll see in 10 or 15 years, I guess, you know, if it works out, but it feels like a good balance to make sure they're not burned out. I knew, lots of kids, especially wrestling, that were burned out. You see it in motocross quite a bit with some of those parents are just, you know, on PW50s, kids are riding modified bikes that they ride cheater bikes to race these races to get a plastic trophy, and it's everything to their dads, and it kills me. It's just seeing how hard some get pushed. A kid in this was at Mesquite last year. They have a motocross track down there, and I remember I was standing right in front of the bleachers just watching one of the smaller classes, and these were electric 50s, which electric bikes are new to moto, but they're trying to figure it out. So they've got an E50 class. So these kids are 7 and 8. The way they do the age ranges, at some of them are 9 at the oldest. And the race finishes, this kid pulls off the track, or he's pulling off the finish line jump, and another kid jumps past him and then cuts him off on the way down the finish line and takes his front wheel out, and the kid smacks his head on the it's just like concrete at that point in the day, slides down. And it's sometimes when those kids crash, it's just, you know, get back up and quit being a baby. But this was a hard crash where I'm like, this kid's probably hurt. And his mom runs out, gets him off the track, and she's talking to him, takes his helmet off, he's crying, and then his dad comes over from the fence in front of the bleachers, in front of everyone. He goes, get back on the bike. You didn't crash that hard. A whole bunch of swear words mixed in, and the kid goes, no, I did crash that hard, Dad. And he's like, no, quit being just all kinds of stuff that I couldn't believe he was saying to his kid. And then his kid goes, F you, Dad. And he's 8, 9, his squeaky little voice, which that caught me off guard. He puts his helmet back on, gets back on his bike, and rides back to the trailer. And I think everyone watching was kind of in shock. And I was just thinking, like, at first I was like, man, I'm a really good parent. And then I was like, and then I started thinking maybe I'm too soft on my kids. As terrible as that was, it worked. But
sounds like an extreme.
Yeah, you see that kind of stuff though, and it's like that the kid's not doing it for him, and that kid was good. He was a fast kid. But when he's 10, 12, 15, he's going to be sick of that sport.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And I don't care if my girls quit racing, but when they're older, I want to be able to if we can go ride up AF Canyon or something together and they can ride well enough, that's amazing. Yeah.
I think one of the most dangerous things a parent can do is let their kids be idle.
Yeah.
You have a finite time period to prep them to be an adult, and it's your responsibility to prep them for the world, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so much to learn, and there's so many important habits to help them develop. If they're idle, if they're just sitting around with free time as they get older, it's only going to get more dangerous.
Yeah.
But also just not quitting is that one habit or that one mindset is going to translate into literally anything they do in life, you know?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you had that same mindset or learned that as a kid. How did that translate into you starting a business?
There's so many days I would have quit if I could. One of the best things for business, my brother that runs a business told me the burn the ships analogy, and that has been the best thing. I mean, I think people, when you're pushed to the limit, you find out who you are, but you find ways to succeed. And if there's no other choice, and I could trace that back to so many, sports moments or things like that.
Yeah.
That you learn that lesson on a smaller scale, and it sticks with you. But yeah, it's really that quitting's not an option. And that's gotten me through some rough times. It's easy to, especially running a business, it's easy to do it when when things are good. There's nothing else like it. But when things are hard, it's a lot of weight, and it's
lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking to other people in those situations is helpful, I think. It does feel like you're on an island sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you really just don't know what it's like until you go through it, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes talking to people that have not started a business from scratch and built it, I feel like my conversation or my words will land on deaf ears.
Yeah. You realize pretty quick people, most people running businesses are just figuring it out too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of comforting to know that other people are going through rough stuff or learning curve. Some of them are dumb lessons that you wish you could learn the easy way.
How do you feel that becoming a father helped you in business?
Probably where it's helped the most in business is a lot of lessons in marriage, but relationships with your kids, that kind of stuff. It applies a lot to employees and the people you work with. If you can, oh yeah, there's so many direct parallels. Um, and that's not to say employees are kids. It's nothing like that. Um, it makes life, it makes things more real, because the people you're working with also have kids, and so it's not just the weight of your own kids that you're dealing with. You're dealing with theirs, and with kids, they have bad days. They didn't sleep very good, and you know exactly why they're not listening uh, that day. You go to work and the same thing happens. Someone's a jerk to you that day. They probably didn't sleep good. You know, their kid maybe didn't sleep good. Their kids are sick at home. Um, yeah, it is quite similar.
I like that. I've never thought of that. I guess just listening to you explain that, what comes to my mind is like the ability to have compassion,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with your employees or a mean client or any business relationship. Becoming a father, especially to girls, just softens your heart.
Yeah.
To fellow mankind, So I like that. One of the things that sparked inviting you onto the podcast is a story you shared on your Instagram after some questionable things happened.
Yeah.
You basically posted an open invite to talk about, certain things. I didn't DM you because I was like, I gotta just have him on the podcast and discuss it. So why did you send that invite, and what were you inviting people to talk about?
That invite started. I reposted it. This one was recent, but that started in what year? 2020, when George Floyd died. Um, Everyone, I think, knows what the political climate was like, and there was just such a big divide, and there was so much. I don't know. I just felt there was a lot of
Just tension.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I always think that people are, I think generally speaking, people are good. And it was hard seeing people that are, people that I thought of that were good, just tear other people apart. Like there was just so much hate and division. And I was just fed up with that. And so I just posted, just an open invitation to anyone, whether I knew him or not, just that we could sit down and I'd buy him lunch and we could talk about racism, the way that it impacts them. And really the intent was to get to understand other people, and their point of view. I think I'm in a little bit of a unique spot where I'm Black, but was raised in a white family. I guess my three siblings are different races, but kind of puts me in the middle in a way. I've seen, if you want to call it, both sides, and I just wanted to understand why people felt the way that they felt, and I really tried hard to keep politics out of it. I still think that the politics don't, that puts people up, they put a wall up because you're talking about something on the left or something on the right. And it was, and I talked to people on both. I ended up talking to well over 50 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was for like, some of them were groups of people when we would do this, but it was like, 3-4 times a week for months. I was going to lunch with people all over. We work from Spanish Fork to Salt Lake, so I'm all over the valley most days, anyways, and so it's pretty easy to set up times. I was really surprised by the people that I met. It was people that were like, my cousin shared the post, and their sister-in-law shared the post, and they reached out to me. Some were people I knew, some were people that like I hadn't seen since high school. And
Was it who was it though? Like, what was the demographic of people reaching out?
I met with people from probably every category you could think of. I had a couple clients. That was kind of weird. Uh, that somehow had found my personal page or something, and we talked. Yeah, it was there was nobody, there was probably nobody younger than 20. But yeah, people from 20 to 60 years old, different industries, different, some people were very, very politically charged on one way or the other. Uh, I went to lunch with 2 cops, and at the time there was a lot of tension, and these were people I hadn't met. It's kind of interesting. It was also kind of weird to walk into these because I don't, like, you get a message like, hey, let's do lunch, let's go talk. I don't know what their goal is, anything like
There was
that.
no prequel to that other than
No, it was just that they had read the post, and it was like, hey, let's talk. I want to understand you.
Did you feel like they always had good intentions because they took the action of reaching out?
Yeah, I think so. And I honestly, all but one of them went really well. I think we ended up connected on just about everyone. The short answer, or the summary of all of it, is that they're good people on, both sides of the political spectrum. And when people see a problem, there are people that when they see a problem, they step up to help, and you want those people on your side. And the thing that was so hard for me to watch was it turned into a left versus a right issue. And it was so frustrating for me because it's not one side of the political spectrum or other. It's a problem that exists everywhere. And if you have good people who are shut out to it, or aren't able to understand what's going on, they can't help. And so my goal was really just for people to see the problem. That was it. I don't care how you solve it. At the time, like, defunding the police was a big thing. I can understand the logic behind that. I also understand the logic behind giving the police more funding. I don't really care which it is. But I do care that people see the problems that are out there.
Yeah, in my eyes, I'm like, it's not a right or left. It's a humanity situation.
Yeah.
Right.
It's people get treated differently because of their skin color, and it's just a fact. It's normal. It happens anywhere you go in the world, but
has it affected you differently because you're a black man in Utah? I mean, Utah's known for, like,
it's
very predominantly white,
It's so I found this. Everything in this, I just always end up back in the middle, which is I think it's important not to be a centrist and pick a side or take a stand, that kind of thing. But somehow I always end up just kind of in the middle. So it's, I'm black, I'm raised here. And so growing up my whole life, people expected me to be black, which you could probably assume what that means. And I wasn't black, so to speak. And so I never really fit in there. the college that I went to was in Pennsylvania. I did fine arts, and it was a pretty liberal school. And I remember going to the Black Student Union there, and this is an hour and a half from Pittsburgh, and I didn't fit in there either, because I'm too white, and then you go back to white people, and you don't fit in because you're black, and you just kind of get tossed around. I didn't really kind of accept who I was until I was my 20s, before I realized like I can just be me. It's okay.
Was that confusing, like in high school? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like I should be good at basketball, and I wrestled. I was terrible at basketball. I was, in fact, that's how I got into wrestling. Is my mom thought I would be good at basketball, which, sorry, mom, if you listen to that. And so she's like, "You're going to play basketball." And we thought it was at the Mapleton Center, or the Mapleton Rec Center. And I walked in, and it was, all the wrestlers were leaving, sweaty. Everyone's faces are red. It looked like absolute hell. And Coach Lamont was walking out. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Is this basketball signups?" And he's like, "No, but come back tomorrow and try this." And so I went back, and then I quit basketball at the end of that season. I was not good at basketball, but yeah, it's kind of weird that people want you to be a certain way. And those things are normal. It doesn't, if you have minority friends, you talk to them, those kinds of things are just normal parts of life. If I want to know what it's like to be in the NBA, I'd talk to an NBA player. Or if I want to know what it's like to be a parent, the worst person you could talk to is like a teenager or someone who's not a parent. And if anyone listening to this, if you have minority friends, go talk to them. And I think you'll be surprised at what kind of things just happen in daily life. And it means a lot more when it's people but that's just, to some of us, that's just how it is. I think I had around the time that I posted the open invitation to people, I had posted just sharing some of the experiences that I had with racism, and the response that I got back was, from some people, it was pity, or they weren't sure what to do. But what surprised me is I had quite a few people tell me, you're being a victim here. And
really,
that I thought a lot about that, because one thing that I heard quite a bit, and I still hear this, is that if you just ignore race, there's other problems. So if you look at prison statistics, I'm kind of a data person, and if you look at prison statistics in Utah, so the demographics of Utah are around 1% Black. And one thing I hear a lot is that in America, we all have a, sort of a fair shake. We all have the same opportunities. To a point, that's true. But if that's true, and everyone's treated equal in this kind of imaginary land, then you would think that the demographics would stay the same across kind of all classes. So if you looked at school dropout rates, and 10% of the population is one race, it should be about 10% of the population that's in the school, uh, high school dropouts. Those things should line up. One that surprised me, I looked up the prison statistics, and I don't know what it is today, but it's probably similar. 1% of Utah is black, the demographic, and 7% of the prison population is black. And it to me that says there's for one thing, it's only 1% of the people that we're even talking about that are dealing with this. So chances are not 1% that's dealing with it, because it's the same. It's similar statistics for other minorities, but it at least raises the question that why that's so glaringly different. What are we doing in society or people that's causing that? And again, one of the things that I got the most from talking to people was that people have just never heard of these kinds of things, or they don't see it, or they don't understand it. And it makes sense because their perspective in their life, they've never dealt with racism. Like I'd be surprised if you've ever been called the N-word, but I have, as a joke and as an insult, multiple times, and that's okay. It doesn't change the way that I approach life. It's just something that happens. And so talking to people was amazing because there's so many people that once they see those things, they want to help. And the response I had to the people that would say that, this is kind of just a victim thing where I wanted to feel, I wanted to get attention. Like if I post like, hey, these people did this, or this person did this to me, that I get attention on social media. And, that could be true, but one of my favorite analogies is Jackie Robinson, story. He, if you talked to a white baseball player at the time, and asked them how the MLB was for black MLB players, I think you'd probably get a pretty different answer. And you'd need, Jackie Robinson's story's amazing, the things he went through, and kept fighting. And that's a mindset that I think that, that people need. I don't think the victim mindset is helpful, but the biggest key in that story that's not talked about is that even if Jackie Robinson wanted to play baseball, the people in charge of Major League Baseball had to let him play. And those are the people that I want to talk to that can make a difference. On one hand, you have people who have, the odds stacked against them, and we need them to fight. But on the other hand, you have the people that can change the odds, and those are the people that need to understand the problem. Because if you remove race from everything, I talked to plenty of people that said they don't see color, and you remove race from Major League Baseball before Jackie Robinson started playing, and you remove it from he would have never had the chance to play. You have to have race, so you have to look at race sometimes to understand where the problems are. How you solve them is up to you, but seeing the problem, sometimes you have to see, or you have to look through that lens. And the good thing is that usually when you solve those problems, when you see, okay, we noticed in construction that Hispanics are paid significantly less. And so if I would get a bid for concrete from 3 different trades, the Hispanic estimate would almost always be lower. And good business sense says that you should go with the lowest bid. And that's fine. Maybe you do that, but understanding that if people aren't, if it's consistently that race, what are we doing wrong? And so one good practice is maybe don't go with the lowest bid, maybe go with the middle bid, but I would talk to the people with the lowest bid and say, hey, this is what other people are charging. Like, I've seen you work. Maybe the value of your work should be closer to this. And just by paying attention to that, you can make even a small difference. And even then, those are the kinds of things that don't sit right with me. There's people out there that look specifically for Hispanic workers because they know they can get a job cheaper. And yeah, the ethics there are frustrating because that leads to so many issues down the line with their family if they can't make enough money to survive. It carries all the way through, and you see it you'll see it in the schools they go to. You see it in all these different areas. But the people who can make a difference need to see it first.
Yeah.
And once you see that issue, the cool thing is that also benefits people of all races. So once we've noticed that, that's not something that, if we get low bids back, I'm not just going to tell the people who are Hispanic, hey, your bid was low, maybe you should up it to this, or help them understand how to price work and get a fair value for their work. That's with anyone. And in the end, it ends up benefiting everyone.
So what can we do as individuals, the people watching individually, what can they do to help the world heal?
I think there's a Malcolm X quote that's I'm trying to remember exactly how he says it, but it's understanding creates I'm going to fumble these words. Just talking to people, people, the first step I would point people is go talk to any of your friends that are, anyone in your circle that's a minority, and find out where it impacts them. And if you don't have anyone that's in your circle that's a minority, maybe you need a bigger circle. And maybe that's a place to start. But once you understand what they're dealing with, I think the solution becomes pretty apparent, because there's ways that each of us contribute, even if it's just as small as second guessing stereotypes. Mm-hmm. I had a girl that I dated in high school. I was supposed to go on a family trip with them, and the family sat me down the week before and said, hey, you can't come. The grandma of the girl I was dating, that we're going to visit, is not okay with Black people, and especially our daughter dating one.
That's heavy on a high school kid.
Yeah,
it's heavy.
It was okay. I guess I'm not going. And then another, it's, I can say this now because we get along great, but my wife's grandma, uh, 5 years later, similar thing. She didn't want me, she want my wife dating me because, you know, those brown guys just get them pregnant and leave. And, um, that's the kind of stuff that, I mean, it hurts, but
Do you feel like you're just catching stray bullets? Like you don't know me
well, on
individually.
one hand, that's what my dad did to my mom, and I was adopted, which got me out of that. So, on one hand, it's sometimes stereotypes exist for a reason, and that doesn't make it okay, but understanding that is helpful. I love my wife's grandma now. Like she's amazing. And I don't think she feels that way anymore. And, sometimes that just takes people um, who are able to show that, there's a difference. But yeah, that's, yeah, people change. And that's, I think, where it starts is just talking to people. Once you understand people, you realize that people are good. People have good intentions. And even in that, you know, my wife's grandma's looking out for, her granddaughter. She doesn't want her in a bad situation. If up to that point, that's been her experience. It's fair. It's valid. It's cool that I can, I can change that, but it's sad that that's out there.
Yeah.
And that stuff, even those small things, they carry through, everyday life. Even if you don't think that, those things exist, they happen. I notice it sometimes. I'm walking down the street and someone crosses to the other side. Maybe it's because I'm a man. Maybe it's because I'm black. It happens enough that you wonder. But that doesn't change. It doesn't change how I approach life. I don't let any of that stuff impact me, but it's if the only way to stop it is for people to see it. And I'm convinced once people see it, they change. One of the people I talked to he was one of the organizers in Provo. There was a shooting, from the BLM protest,
right off Center Street, right?
Yeah. And the next day, a whole bunch of people showed up on the other side of the street. Maybe this was the same day. No, I think it was the next day or the next protest. A whole bunch of people showed up on the other side of the street with, they brought their guns, military gear, whatever. If you look up the photos, it's pretty wild. Especially, in this area, you don't see stuff like that super often. And I wasn't on either side. I think there's a place for both, but I think there's more change just talking to people around a campfire or at lunch. But I talked to one of the guys that organized that, and they went to a second one in Payson, and there was a young girl who had organized it for her brother. She was talking about some of the stuff her brother went to, and he said something along the lines of like, what are we doing here? We've got people with guns, here to keep the peace. And I said, I was surprised that his view wasn't, we weren't on the other side. It was, we were there. We were there to keep things peaceful. And I pointed out that if either side started shooting in that scenario, then that would be a complete a complete disaster, but also, if you're across the street and they're here, it's pretty distinct sides. But he was adamant they weren't there, for left or right. They were there to make sure that people were safe in our community. And that's the kind of person that, he was taking action. He's protecting what he believes in, his country, all those kinds of things. And after that, he went and started he quit being involved with that group and went and started a Latino outreach group to help people speak English in like their local ward. Those kinds of people are on sort of both sides of the aisle, and once they see the problem, they take action. And I don't think you solve that with protests or with Instagram posts or things like that, but you can solve it by talking to people, and once people understand, things can change.
I love that. Okay, this is the last time, I promise.
Good.
Figure this out before the next episode. So I ask all my guests one last question to end the podcast episode, and that is, if there's one lesson you want to leave with your kids when you're no longer here, what is that lesson?
Probably the same lesson my dad left me, that life's short. Don't wait. There's really not enough time to experience life. I think a lot, if my dad could go back and not fly his plane that day, would he stay home? And, I'll ask him when I see him, but I think, I hope that he would do it again. Because I got my dad, it was almost 8 years of my life, at 100%. And I would much rather have, my dad at 100% for a shorter amount of time than at 50% or unhappy, just going through life. And I hope my kids approach life that way, because it really might be gone tomorrow. So I'd say is, don't wait.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your stories and wisdom, and hope to get to know you better and continue the conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It's been awesome.